Yeah. It's supposedly, but this is new for us too. As it used to be, we get fall break and you get 4 or 5 days off, and then Thanksgiving you get 4 or 5 days off. What year are you now? Okay.
Before the last paper, like, we gotta come in.
Oh, the final exam? Yeah. Technically, no. I already posted it, so I'll show you guys what. What's that? Oh, right, because you're like almost done, right? So most of your assignments are here. I still haven't found this. I have a bunch of questions for that. So I'll even keep open first paper, values paper, global assignment, and they get bigger. They go 2 pages, 3 pages, 4. This is the PowerPoint presentation, so we're like halfway. This is also the date you pick to present it. And then you've got the diversity paper and final self-assessment. You don't have to be here. The only presentation is this one, the PowerPoint presentation and syllabus. You already presented too. Yay. Okay. So here's the presentation. So ideally, you guys, we only have like next week and the week after, and it's Thanksgiving break, right? What's that? Yeah. It's like coming fast. So we have, I guess I'll look at it. It's still October, but tomorrow's November. And then we have, so this week, well, next week, and then the week after, and then it's done. So next week, week after, and then, yeah, that would be, so get your presentations in there. Here's what the presentation looks like again. So sometime during the semester, students must expand their boundaries by putting themselves in a setting where they are racial minority in a situation in which they are unfamiliar. Prior to participating in this experience, identify common stereotypes. So you can do that on your PowerPoint. Identify common stereotypes and prejudices often associated with this group. I say go out to eat anywhere in Xenia. And that's what I did for mine. I had to do one for my graduate school in social work. And I am from Cincinnati, which is a big city. And my graduate school was in Lexington, which is like podunk country, and they're not used to city people. So students attend observing your feelings, reactions, and experiences. Identify your stereotypes, prejudices, and differences in communication styles. Like they're really country down there. They're just like, y'all want some coffee? It was different. Which you observed and are recipient, then write it out in PowerPoint and then present it to the class. So that's the gist of it. It says do this alone, but I changed it. If you want to go with somebody else, it's fine. Go eat with them, or go to Walmart is a big one where you might notice it, and then make a PowerPoint. Actually lower up there just on my screen. This is just on my screen. So any questions? I know half of you are done, half of you can do it. And that's pretty much it. So that's your presentation. The next one is the diversity paper. I have that one. It was due quickly because we kind of pushed back the presentations. We're doing them into October. So the diversity paper isn't due until the day you leave. And if you want to do your final over Thanksgiving, that's fine too. So here's what this one looks like. The diversity paper can be similar to what your PowerPoint is, but share any experience you have of alienation, marginalization, or oppression from the core competencies video found online. And the core competencies are what we teach in social work. So there's 9 core competencies. Students write, it's just 2 pages. So explaining how the prejudice comments of strangers have an impact on either yourself or your clients, and in general. In the future, we may see people that have been alienated. The big thing right now is Israel and Gaza, like people are getting killed because of that alienation. Write about the extent to which cultures, structures, and values may oppress, marginalize, alienate, create, or enhance privilege and power in relation to your future clients. I'm going to word it differently. Your future clients. Because as a social worker, you guys can get clients that have experienced this. We all experience it at some time or another. But just understanding that and seeing, people's idiocracy, bigotry, whatever, just kind of, it may have been the way that they were brought up, and that's why they experience that way. We are also on week 10 or 11, so we're finishing fast here. Anybody know what week it actually is in class? Do you have an online class that tells you what week number we're at? Damn, see? Week 12. That's going fast. All right, so this is probably it then. So we've got week 12 here. We did health, rehabilitation, and mental health. That's insane. We're moving that fast. I feel like we were just finishing up 11, so I'm going to click back on 11 too. So in the book, social work, poverty, homelessness, unemployment, and criminal justice. So in this chapter, you guys get all these, but how does social work address poverty and working with persons who are poor? Summarize the role of social work in responding to homelessness and working with people who are homeless. Delineate the consequences of unemployment. It's actually hot. Excuse me. And then describe the role of social work in the criminal justice system. So a lot of stuff came out in especially the 50s. So you hear a lot about the 50s being a different time, but income inequality was bad. And so in 1950, inequality doubled with income. Compared with the bottom 90% of population, income of top 10% was 9 times greater. Income of top 1% was 38 times greater. And then the 0.1%, that's like Bill Gates, all those richies that are 184 times more money than we will ever see. It's a significant global issue. Half the world population has access to less than 10% of all the world's wealth, mostly because, who is it? Bill Gates, Elon Musk. You guys might be able to name some of them. Maybe even Beyonce, that other blonde singer that's on tour. I don't remember her. She's a millionaire now too. There's a lot. They have a lot of money, but 900 people worldwide live in extreme poverty, and they actually live on less than $1.90 a day. Does that make any sense? It almost seems crazy. It's like, what the F can you buy for $1.90? So it might be that their currency is different. Like when I traveled to El Salvador, Nicaragua, I was able to buy, you got to cook your own food. So you could buy beans and rice for that cheap. And you lived in maybe a squatter's tent or a tin roof. I don't know if I could find some of the photos when I went to India or Nicaragua, but apparently there's still people in America that live off $1.90 a day, but that's because of government subsidies. So they might make $1.90, but then they're given, say, also food stamps, subsidized housing. But there are some folks in America that live off of that. So poverty is a violation of human rights. UN economic, social, and cultural rights. Everyone has a right to a standard of living that supports basic needs. So what do you guys think the basic needs are? If you are to live, I don't want to say comfortable, but survive living, what do you need? What are your basic standards?
Shelter, clothes.
Yes. And that's getting expensive as hell too. I used to buy these stupid workout shirts, and apparently because they're made out of petroleum base, they're made out of oil, they've doubled in price. I used to go to the thrift store and get them for 90 cents. Now they're on Amazon, I think they were 36 for $5 about a year ago, and I looked them up today and they're 76 for $5 of these dumb shirts, just because they're quick dry for when you sweat. Anything oil based, so even toothpaste, what else do they have oil in? gas. I think they're subsidizing gas. So globally, we also see intersections of race, gender, and class, vulnerability of women, children, and then ethnic minorities. There's disproportionate effects of poverty. So The Other America, that's a book written by Michael Harrington in 1962. The author was writing on The Other America, Poverty in the United States. Hello. Any of you guys presenting your presentations today, or do you want to go Thursday? Okay, you've done yours. You'll go Thursday or Tuesday, I guess. Okay. Anybody else? I feel like all of you have gone. I've opened all the assignments, so do every assignment. Even if you think it's super light, just do every assignment. Everything's open. You can turn it in. Don't let that affect your grade. You guys will do well. So this chapter, I was finishing up chapter 11 because we are in week 12. It's on poverty. So what do you guys think some of the personal effects are of poverty? And that could be in America. It could be in like Gaza, Nicaragua, El Salvador. What do you think the personal effects of poverty on like a human being would be if you have to experience poverty? Sometimes it's malnourishment. Depression, yeah, for sure. No, that's huge because now even if you are in poverty, I think you can see how people are living compared to maybe the way we are living. So conditions noted sparked a war on poverty during the Kennedy administration. So that was JFK, the president who was shot in 1963. So potential loss to societal members and society itself resulting in poverty. And then it said, now as before, poverty creates a class of people who are poor with all human costs associated with being poor. So who are the poor? Absolute numbers, there are more poor whites. There's 41% of persons who were poor in 2015 are non-Hispanic white. This is in America. But comparison of poverty rates, disproportionately higher rate of poverty among minorities. So it's 24% for blacks, 21% for Hispanics, 11% for Asians, and 9.1% for non-Hispanic whites. People living in rural areas are more likely poor because like a lot of the jobs are in the city. So the jobs that make the bigger money are closer to the city. 85% of countries with persistent poverty are in the rural areas. The size of families with income below poverty line are similar to the overall average family size in the US. And then the likelihood of poverty increases with your family size. I guess I effed that one up. We had 3 kids in 3 years. So we definitely fall in the line right now with what they pay social workers and teachers, but that's okay. Then women and children, a large percentage of those in poverty. Why do you think women and children are more likely to be in poverty? Yes, that actually, I would say that along with the pay disparity, they say it's like 77 cents for every dollar a man makes. A woman makes 77 cents. That was a stat from Hillary Clinton's campaign. Many who are poor are employed full time. So it's not that you're not working, you could be employed full time. Income from a minimum wage full time job could be below poverty. Working poor is the fastest growing segment of those who are poor. So you could work. I personally have 3 jobs. Last year, I paid taxes on either 6 or 7 jobs. It's just, with inflation, it gets harder and harder. With more kids, it gets harder. So inflation has been real bad, though. Relative and absolute poverty. So you've got absolute poverty. That's your income level below which people are considered poor. An example is government established indexed. So there's a poverty line. That was the one movie we watched called The Line. Do you guys know what a family of 4 is supposed to earn above to stay out of the poverty line? How much? 40,000? That would be good. I feel like they still have it at let me search this. Before saying anything. So poverty line, family of 4. They may still have the old statistics. So getting there, yeah, because at 5 it's 31,000. This is 2021 poverty guidelines in the 48 contiguous states, because it costs more to live in Hawaii and Alaska apparently. Because here's Alaska, it's a little bit more. For one, it's 16,000 instead of here, and Ohio is 12,000. The 35,000 is the poverty line for a family of 6. 40,000 is the poverty line for a family of 7, and then 44,000. When you get to Alaska, it's different. So 2 have to live off 21,000, 3 have to live off 27,000, 4 live off 33,000, 5 is 38,000, and then Hawaii might even be more. No, Alaska is more. I'm sorry. Hawaii is cheaper. So it's 14,000 for 1 in Hawaii, 20,000 for 2, 25,000. It's about $5,000 for each kid you have. 35,000 for 5, 40,000 for 6. So kind of weird statistic just because it's that expensive. So the current cost of a nutritional diet is multiplied by an index number. Also, relative poverty is the perception of being poor in relation to others in time, accumulated possessions. Has anybody ever heard of a food desert?
Yes.
How would you define a food desert? Like, however you define it.
There is those who know fresh foods being placed there.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Food deserts? You come from one? I was born in one. I lived in one as recent, as a few years ago. Anybody else? Food deserts? Ever heard of them? Know what they are in regards to poverty? So relative poverty is the perception of being poor in relation to others in time, place, and accumulated possessions. So there's also a theory of poverty, like a psychological theory caused by motivation, moral deficiency, and behavioral traits. Also contemporary view to broaden the understanding. Then there's anthropological theories, that's like human theories. Then the culture of poverty, there's unique intergenerational subculture, holding people accountable for their cycle of poverty. And then sociological theories like inadequate institutional fabric limits opportunities, social stratification and class system impedes the mobility, and then discrimination accounts for disproportionality of poverty. Oh yeah, those of you who walked in, are you doing your presentations today or more like Tuesday if you haven't done them yet? What's that? Oh. Tell them I said hi. Yeah, are you going to do your presentation? You can do it today or Thursday or next Tuesday if you haven't done it yet. Presentation?
I gotta be on spot as soon as
Because that's what happens when it starts at 9:30 and you're 32 minutes late.
See,
like bam.
Something going on and like, Get up in the two.
Right.
No, I can do it on Thursday. Mine done. I just don't got my computer.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I want you all to get a chance to turn in all your work, pass the class with a good grade. So I've opened everything, presentations you can do today, like somebody did, Thursday or Tuesday. Yes.
But look, put me and Asia down for Thursday.
Okay.
Asia
Okay.
gonna come to class on Thursday. Stuff just be going on. She definitely coming.
Let's see. Yeah, as long as you get them done. We're overlooking these assignments. And because really that's it. You got your presentation here. We're at the midpoint of the class. Right before Thanksgiving, the diversity paper is only 2 pages, and then we have the final self-assessment. So you guys are rocking and rolling in the final.
What's the 100 out of 150?
That's all.
Where's that?
That's what I got. I got 100 out of 150 on my last paper.
It means you must have been missing something.
Damn. So like.
And I usually write what it was. If you wanna, and you get a chance to redo it.
I got money. So what's the 100 out of 150? What's the 100 out of 150? That's a B.
You could round it up to like a C minus. but-
Damn, I got 2 C minuses.
So it just means you're missing stuff. Yeah. You can redo them.
I gotta redo it. I'm like,
So on diversity was the last essay.
That is the last essay, and then the final self-assessment paper is like a few pages.
Oh, okay.
So how are all your other classes going?
Yeah, passing.
Passing is good. I don't think they put anyone on probation list if you go below a 1.99.
Oh, I ain't nowhere near that.
As long as you're above 1.99,
I don't care. I don't like it.
I understand. Most people don't, and it convinces them not to be a social worker. That's the idea. It's a weed out class.
I like that.
I don't want to be a social
I like
worker.
it.
I don't want to be.
I understand. That's good. Did you have a question, you said?
I would say my
Oh, yeah. As long as it's above a 2.0. And then for law school, they want you to have mostly a 4.0. There's a lot of different law schools. Akron just combined with our school to do a combined law school with Central State and Akron Law School.
Wait, so you a social
Is
worker?
it a building down here?
Like you work
You go
Not social worker.
they gonna put you right in.
I work at hospice.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I do. I do.
It's good with scheduling stuff.
It is.
Maybe one of those
It
people, but it's you would never be without a job. You'd never be without a job.
So law school has 70% unemployment for their graduates. That I did half a law school when I found that they were
As a social worker, you would never be
right.
That's true.
And that's why I
It's-
switched back.
It's something that's really.
Because social work, if you go on that field, social work, it's more jobs you can do other than just working. This social work, you can do other things.
You can be in healthcare, you can do social work law. And if you do both, you get a law degree and a social work degree, you're probably worth your weight in gold. That's what I was always told, just because. But I would not be able to finish as you guys with all the distractions you have nowadays. Like, just staying focused for a 4-year degree, it's 120 credit hours. And I don't even think we had cell phones, let alone smartphones. And I get, I was diagnosed with ADHD at like 14 or 15. And anything to stay focused is tough. So I empathize with what you guys have going on. Just the older you get, the harder it is too, because family happens, life happens. Have kids or a relationship, and they want your undivided attention. You ever notice that? They're like, why don't you call me all the time? Why are you in class? Why do you have to go to class? Why are you even doing this class crap? Just go get a job. I'm sure you hear that. I did. No? Never?
You're in there.
Really?
He just be like, come home. Other than that, somebody would ask me about the phone. They will ask me that.
Really?
Yes. Like, why are you not?
Right. Right, and I'm with you. I mean, I know the last stretch was the hardest, like finishing. I dropped out of law school mainly because I heard about that 70% unemployed stat. And a lot of lawyers say, well, there's work. You can always have a job, but people won't pay. So there's that too. Yeah, like that, and that's why lawyers do retainer. You ever heard you got to get a lawyer on retainer? That's why. Because usually after the lawyer does the work, nobody pays. But if you do the retainer up front, like say you put a lawyer on retainer fees, you give them $5,000, and they bill until you run out, and then they bill again. So social work law is a big one. You can be an advocate, especially as we're talking about poverty and the responses to poverty. Policy is a big part of it. So some of the policies, Head Start program that was in 65 and improved access to preschool education. Family support and component staffed by social workers. That's one of the social work law jobs. Project Wise, empowerment oriented initiative for low income women. A lot of folks will be lawyers for women in domestic violence situations, counseling and support groups, leadership activities, parent involvement program, community based empowerment initiatives, and then trying to increase parental involvement in schools. So these are all the poverty things that have come up that also lead to homelessness. So the majority of homeless have a mental illness or substance use disorder. So drugs, alcohol, or something of that variety. They represent about 20% of the homeless. Homelessness are more likely due to economic and social forces. So right now, rent in your hometown, what is the cheapest you could get a rental for? If you wanted to like move out of your parents and get rent, how much is it?
For a house,
Either a house or an apartment.
it's usually something for an apartment somewhere in Detroit. It's probably like 800, anywhere from like 800 to
Okay.
$1,000.
So still semi affordable. Anybody come from the city where it's above 1,000? How much? Cincinnati. It's like 1,200 a month.
Yeah, it's like, well, too big.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It kind of sucks because I'm from Cincinnati and it's expensive. So that's why they say this next one, shelter space being sufficient and available or insufficient shelter space in urban and rural areas. People who are homeless are unemployed. About a third of them, though, are employed full time. So you got some folks that have to live in their car because the cost of housing is too expensive. They literally just sleep in the back of their car, go to a job. There are some government initiatives to meet the crisis and long-term needs of housing shortages. So the response is gradual, partial, and not fully funded. So the national point in time study, they counted 7 years ago, there's more than 500,000 people homeless in the United States. But when they count them, it's hard because people could be living in their sister's basement. People could be living deep in the woods where you can't find them. So it's difficult to determine homeless is temporary and not permanent. Point in time counts are likely underestimate the actual number because it's hard to find them all. So some of the risk factors with homelessness.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like something called like Section 8?
Yes. Yep. That's federal.
How does that work?
It's usually based on income. So like if you looked at these poverty numbers that we just looked up, it would probably be that you are at these for like a family of one, family of two. That's how you often first qualify. And then they give you maybe an $800 stipend for that apartment that he's talking about. What city are you from? Okay. Is there any homeless in Pittsburgh? One or two of them? Or more? Yeah. So usually they do it off this income stat, which now with inflation should be 20% higher because this is You can go home.
I'm not talking about movie home.
I always make it the weird part about college is that it's completely and totally optional. Like you don't have to show up, you don't have to do the work. But if I want it bad enough, I show up, I do the work. Which sucks though, is it's like, why can't somebody drag me in here and make me do it? Make me willing or motivated to do my sophomore year GPA, I will always tell a story, was a 0.59. So I realized the hard way quickly that nobody was going to do it for me. Nobody was going to show up but me. Thankfully, I had some forgiving teachers.
How many credits you need here to be considered a sophomore?
When you hit 31, you're a sophomore, I believe. It's either 30 or 31. So 15 every semester. Then when you hit 60, because there's some that can't get into certain housing. If you had 59, wanted to get in like the good housing, they say, no, you're still a sophomore. You got to be at 60 to be a junior. So it's 30 for every year. Did you all get your registration stuff too? Because I can show you again what that looks like with the check sheet. Does anybody still need a check sheet?
I do.
If you email me, say, please send a check sheet, I can reply with it to you. See if it pulls up. So here's a blank check sheet. Make sure you're registered.
Wait, should we have a check sheet from all our classes?
That's the idea. So right now you're in this one. So you would put like grade, the year you took it, and how many credit hours. To graduate, you need 120. Down here, it says 120. And you finish everything on the left, which a lot of you are probably already taking these. You got English, math, history, intro to psych, intro to social, and there's only 9 social work classes, and you're done. So the key is holding on to this. Usually a digital copy is best because you can like save it in your important files, and then it tells you what to register for. So if you're already taking this one for this semester, you can take social welfare next semester, even HBSE right here. How many of you are in English 101? Is that class okay? Is that one easy?
Yeah.
Okay. She got all mad. She's like, no. And you're like, yeah. I would be one that says, no, it's not. Because I had dyslexia. I struggled through English. Math was okay for me. You only need 1 math class.
The math sheet.
Yeah.
I got the
Oh, yeah, you were saying that. Okay. Then you've got history and humanities. How many of you are registered at this point? Or even want to come back to college? How many of you, it's okay. Some people go and just work instead. I had the choice, like you either got to get a job or you got to go to school. And at first I was like, F college, I'm going to work. And then I saw how much things were. I had to go back to college. Anybody in a city that the minimum wage is good? Like they raised it to 15 or 20? I feel like Detroit's like the only one that does that. That would be nice if you could have 15 an hour minimum and 800 a month rent. Because that means you get 30,000 a year and then only 9,000 goes to rent. Yes.
I don't think we should raise their thing. I just think that everybody just decided like $15, $16, $19.
Like Detroit. Probably the city.
But
The
I don't
city
think
could do
they
it.
raised. I don't actually think that they legally raised that.
Oh.
I think it's still probably like 9 something, like 9.
The state.
953.
Okay. Some are doing it state by state and some are doing it cities. Like New York and California, it's
The city or the state?
the state is supposed to raise it either New York or California. But have you seen how much rents are up there? So anybody who needs this to register, just email me. Please send a check sheet and I can send it to you. And if you wanted to check in after class, I wanted to get through half of this. We are at about half of this. at 15 of 30. So we will do more on homelessness after whoever wants to present next class, whoever's presenting. Anybody have a tent city in their hometown? Like a homeless tent city? Or do you just like set up tents all over the... Okay. It's definitely getting worse, and they are say some are invisible. Living campers or double up with sisters. The causes are extreme poverty, lack of affordable housing, undeveloped social service infrastructure. There's a few videos if you look up in California, it's sad. We just visited Atlanta. It was bad because the warm cities have more homeless people because you can sleep outside all day. You know what I mean? Cincinnati, we got 29 at night like we just had. It was freezing last night. And Detroit's even colder. So, yeah, that'll put us at half. And I will stop there for any questions about assignments. I am going to keep all of these open. So if you have to do any of these are the main things that you're graded on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. And we still have at least 6 weeks left. We've got this week. Next week, you do get 10 days off for Thanksgiving, though, so keep that in mind. I think finals will be about December 10th it will end. So we got October, November, December left. Plenty of time. I try to keep them open, and if you need the check sheet, just email me or come up right now after class. Hello, online. So you guys email me if you need a check sheet too, or come up after class.